guys, and welcome to another episode of this Feral Life podcast. Glad to have you with us. Sorry we missed last week. Last week was just super busy for everybody. We had a bunch of, family stuff going on, and man, it was just so hot. We really didn't feel like doing much. It was like 108 degrees, and you just didn't feel like getting out there and doing anything. So absolutely nothing interesting happened. A little quick farm update is they actually started building stuff on our property. So that's pretty cool. We got the email earlier saying that they're going to start road construction and doing the culverts and all that fun stuff.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
We are super stoked. We cannot wait. Come on, farm. Come on,
Let's
ice cream.
do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, super excited about that. Really, really happy to see this coming together. Because it's been a long road. And we're just really pumped to get this going. So, today's episode is going to be brought to you by the letter money, right?
Cash rules everything around me. Cream. Yes,
Yeah.
Money.
It's how to monetize your farm. And things that we're not going to cover in this episode is we're not going to cover monetizing your animals. Because that deserves its own episode, and that's a really big episode, a heavy episode. And we're not going to cover, like, monetizing your equipment and how to make your equipment pay for itself. Those are two separate episodes that we will talk about within the next 2 weeks, right? So this one's just going to be like your farm infrastructure, deciding on what to grow, what direction to take your farm. I mean, it's cool to be a general homestead farm. And you can totally live with that your entire life and just be like, hey, this is our farm, and it does a little bit of everything. But if you want your farm to make you money, you kind of have to pick something to do with your farm.
Yeah.
So for us, for example, like I know that we're getting older. We're not spring chickens anymore. It's not like I'm ready to go.
Speak for yourself.
I'm not ready to go
Oh,
out
no,
to
I
pasture.
robbed the cradle, right?
Yeah,
Because
you
you're
totally robbed the
younger.
cradle.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, what, like 8 months younger? Yeah, so that was a total cradle rob, right? I'm 8 months younger than she is.
2 years.
I'm 2 years younger than you are. Wow, it was a total cradle
But
rob.
I look good, so.
So, it's just like,
Don't hate.
we're 40 plus, and we're just, like, I don't want to go out there and crawl around in the dirt for 12 hours a day, like I've done previously with previous farms that we had. It just, the idea does not make, my knees are like, no thank you, man. Right? They're like, it was fun. It's like that old country song, you're not as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I always was, and it's like, I'm not ready to put the knees out to pasture just yet. I'd like to hold on to my original knees for as long as possible. So we know that we want to have a large vegetable garden, but we don't want to go the absolute insanity that we used to do, where we have like 10 acres of vegetables. We would have to hire people. It just doesn't make financial sense at the time. Not when everybody and their mom at every farmer's market is growing squash.
Yeah. So we learned really quickly, like, what requires more resources, more labor. Shelf life played a huge factor, right? And just generally knowing, like, what your people want. You got to listen to your customers and your consumers in your area. So what are they looking for? What are your popular items? And test things out. And that's how we figured out what worked best for us to monetize.
Yeah, and for us personally, and we'll talk about it quite a bit, is that fruit. There's a huge, like, what do you call it, like a fruit desert? Like, there's plenty, everybody and their mom's growing vegetables, growing cucumbers, growing squash, growing some peppers and a few tomatoes, and selling them at the farmer's market, but nobody has fruit that's local, right? So for us, I had fruit trees. I love fruit trees. I love orchards. I love, doing a vineyard and doing berry patches and all that stuff. So we're going to be doing fruit. And that works out good for us because we love to make wine and beer and ciders. And we'll talk a little bit about that and how you can turn that into a business, a side business as well. And then my wife absolutely loves flowers. Mm-hmm. And flowers, it turns out, they make a lot of money.
Yeah. So definitely that's going to be 1 acre on our property is going to be dedicated just to a flower farm. I'm going to specialize specifically in peonies because you can sell a peony for $5 to $9 a stem.
A stem.
A stem.
A freaking one single flower.
Yeah, and so there's so many things that you could do. You can actually provide flowers for weddings. You can make baskets. You can sell flowers, at a farmer's market.
You can freeze dry them.
You could freeze dry them. I have freeze dryers, so it's just, it just made monetary sense for me to go down this route. And then plus I have a background in floral design. I've been designing weddings for many years now. I think 7 years that I've had my floral business, active. And so
the flowers as well. They have a secondary income besides just selling the actual flowers. So there's actually three ways to monetize that. You can propagate them and sell the starts. And you can charge people to come out and take pictures.
Yep.
It's all about Instagram, guys. If they come out and take a pictures in a,
it's all about TikTok and
full bloom,
Snapchat, IG. Yes. Yeah. We will give you the beautiful landscape for your photos, whether that's the flower field, whether that's in the orchard, whether, I create a seasonal backdrop for you to come take pictures at, so I know that that's also another revenue stream. So me and my husband have a hobby, I would say it's a hobby, in creating revenue streams. The reason why is because when we worked at a farm, we saw how they ran the farm. And we saw how they had, different revenue streams all over the place, whether it was like, it was from, and we were limited, yeah.
They had an idea of how we ran the farm for them. They had an idea of how they wanted their farm ran. And they wanted their farm ran a very particular way. And it clashed with the idea of monetize everything to us. They wanted only very certain things monetized and to just kind of forget about all this other stuff going on over here that was easily monetized.
Yeah. So which makes this super exciting because now we have control over what we want to do. And we have a list. So I hope you guys are tuned in and excited because if, creating your hobby farm, making a little bit of income, to be able to live off that is what, gets you going and if that's your dream, like we will help you get there. We're going to give you a blueprint on how to monetize, anything from veggies to flowers to
value-added products.
Yeah, exactly. So and we're talking like bougie, like artisanal products, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing that you have to consider is, you don't want to just go out there to a farmer's market with everyday squash because it's not going to wow people. So you need that wow factor. Yeah, and everybody everybody grows like squash. I mean, we couldn't give our squash away.
Oh, we tried.
And believe me, we would literally say, "Hey, go ahead and take it home." And the problem is that a lot of people don't know how to cook.
Yeah.
They don't know what the heck to do with it. They don't know what the heck to do with a spaghetti squash or, so then we were like, well, let's, write little recipes on our squash.
Soup mix,
yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden, they're like, wow, right? I just have to throw in some hot water.
So now we're considering like even like freeze-dried soup mixes, at the farmer's market, like all natural ingredients. Wouldn't that be cool, right? So yeah, there you go. There's another one. So we're gonna really drop some gems here, guys. So I'm super excited about this episode. My husband knows that this gets me going. It's just because like, why be one-dimensional, right? Like, why be the everyday, like, bland? If a person was like a DMV or like just beige, right? Like I just think beige and just bland vanilla. And so I'm just very creative. I'm very social, and those two components really help me with talking to people and selling products, and so that's good. And then there's
anytime you can monetize something.
It
doesn't matter if you don't have to throw 100% of your work into it. Like, say you wanted to sell flowers. If that's your primary thing, awesome. If it's not, it can be a side gig. You could have everything on your entire farm be little side things that bring in money. And it's like a rain shower, right? If you just put a cup out there in the yard, it's only going to catch an inch of rain. But if you catch the water coming off the roof of your farmhouse, you'll fill up a swimming pool, right? And that's kind of the way it goes, is you monetize everything on your farm, little bits here, little bits there, and it all channels into one big revenue stream.
Yeah. What really blows my mind is that this is just us monetizing things on our farm, and we're already, segmenting different episodes because there's so much you can do. So when you come to my husband and I, and you give us your story, and you say, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I can't do anything. It's all the odds against me." It's like, think bigger,
easier.
And think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail. Fail fast. And learn and move on. And don't be afraid to ask. Ask questions that are tough. And
I think most of the time when I hear people say they can't do something or another, it's usually out of a fear of failure, or they think that they need to be so big they need to compete with HEB or Walmart or something. No, you're not competing with them, and they're not even competing with you. You're selling a completely different product. You're selling an artisanal, handmade product that is exceptionally local. They're selling to the general public, right? Like the people, and then you can sell a lot of stuff online as well, and that opens up another revenue stream for you. But be advised that once you start selling stuff online, everybody in the world's going to copy it, and especially if you have a very unique product, and then now you're just competing against yourself and the world of Etsy, right? Does that make sense? Because everybody kind of like copies living crap out of everything.
Yeah.
But if you make stuff, I'm a very big proponent of value-added products. That's where taking your peppers you grew and pickling them, and now they're pickled peppers. That's a value-added product. What if you were to take like the handful of peppers that are in a pint jar of pickled peppers? They might sell for $1, right? For like a quart little basket of regular peppers. Might sell for $1. But now that you've pickled them, it's a $5 jar, right? So they've gone up quite a bit in value just by you touching them and handling them for a few minutes. And so anything you can do to add value to something increases your profit margin on it. And it can be really simple, small stuff. One time we had a ton of zucchini. This is back when we had the big farm, and we made just zucchini and yellow squash. And I was like, man, what do we do with this? One nice person on the forum was like, hey, have you ever heard of squash relish? And I was like, no. Is that a thing? And so, quick little trip to Google, it's a thing. Squash relish is basically like pickled relish, but made with squash. And it's delicious.
Yeah.
And we made tons and tons and tons of it. Like many, many, many pint jars. And we'd had to get people to taste it. But once they tasted it, they were like, wow, I'll take 2 jars. Because it's a novelty, it's really cool, and it's delicious.
Yep.
And it was a good way to take that zucchini and the yellow squash we couldn't give away.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how productive those things are. When they're really turning out, you'd have pickup truckloads. You go to the food pantry, and they turn the sign around on you as soon as they see you driving in to the parking lot. Because they're like, oh, heck no, those guys again. They're going to come in here and try to offload some squash on us. We just don't have anywhere to put it.
Honey, you have the Midas touch, though. Everything that my husband touches and grows, like, it's just, like, it's feverishly growing. Like, you have to trim, things with hedgers. Like, you have to trim our, what bushes were they? The basil. Basil was out of control. It was bushes. It was very tall bushes.
So it turns out with, like, benign neglect, basil grows like a weed. And we had that was like 6 foot tall basil.
It was so much basil.
It was like 6 foot tall and like 20 feet wide. It was just one row of basil. And so I was like, you know what? This stuff is so thick. I bet you that instead of sitting here and just like clipping it with scissors, I bet you I could just take the hedge trimmer and just like treat it like a hedge.
Yeah.
And just put down a tarp and harvest the basil that way. And you know what? It works out really well. I was harvesting basil. I just squared it off into like a 4 foot tall hedge. It was a beautiful hedge. We were like, oh, wow, that's a really exotic looking hedge. What is it? I was like, that's basil. It's not a hedge. That's just like a whole mix of basil. We had the Genovese. We had the Thai basil.
Oh, yeah. The Genovese is my favorite.
Yeah, we had the Genovese is that big leaf one that with the licorice type taste. Mm-hmm. The real like Italian-y one.
It makes the best pesto. And so then what did we do? We turned around and made a lot of pesto, and people would buy our pesto left and right. And then we were known for pesto, and it was just about making those value products, the artisanal value products that people look for. And then our zucchini, Eric stated we had a plethora of zucchini. Like, we didn't know. We had zucchini coming out of our ears. We didn't know what to do with it. So then we started making zucchini bread. And so we would have zucchini bread at the farmer's market.
Chocolate zucchini bread.
Chocolate zucchini bread.
Crap,
I mean, everybody loved it. And we would have lines at our little farmer's market, So it was just really cool. And it gave us a sense of pride to know that people liked our products and we were making cool things and we were building a brand without even trying, really.
Yes, and that would probably be the first thing, is to build your brand.
Yep.
You don't need to pay somebody to build you a brand. You've got access to all these AI things to come up with a logo for you. But you don't need to pay anybody. Just once you've got your logo, print some stickers or pay for them to get printed and then put them on everything. It's really cheap. Like it's really easy. We come up with brand stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And then I mean, we did buy that little heat press so we could make our own shirts and hats and stuff, which is a lot of fun. But there's definitely a learning curve to that.
Yeah.
I've messed up more hats and given away a lot of like crooked.
But
hats.
that's what it's all about. It's about the learning curve and the experiences,
Yeah.
and like I said, failing fast. And okay, well, it didn't work, so let's do it this way. And I can't tell you how many shirts I've thrown away that I've ruined, or not thrown away, recycled, or given away to Goodwill that I've literally ruined. And so, I mean, but then I got better at it, and then we made some awesome shirts. And so it's just everything's a learning curve. Like, I mean, you only live once, though. Like,
Yeah. So let's talk about. So yeah, I planted a whole bunch of basil. Basil turned into a whole bunch of pesto, and I think we gave kind of like a pesto recipe away before, didn't we?
yes.
Yeah, a while back. So pesto really sells well. What did we have? I think it was the half.
It was a
pint,
4 ounce. It was a 4 ounce jar.
Yeah, it's like a half
Yeah.
pint jar. And we sold for what? $10?
8.
$8. So it's $8 for a half a pint jar, and which was enough to make several meals because we sold it as pesto concentrate, right? So what it was is it was just basically as much leaves as we could shove into the blender with just enough oil to make it move and shred. We weren't like it was like 90% leaves, 10% oil. And we'd tell people, like, take 2 tablespoons of this pesto concentrate and then put it into a shaker or a jar and then add some olive oil to it and then stir it up and then taste it and see if wait till it gets to where you like it. So that one little 8-ounce jar or a little 4-ounce jar would make, 4 or 5 meals for a family.
Mm-hmm.
And people loved it. Man, we had people that would just eat it straight
Why
out
would
of the
they love
dang
it
jar.
though? There was one key thing that we did that made people love it even more. Is not only was our pesto delicious, because my husband here he might as well be a Michelin chef, I swear. I'm so spoiled. But he would make fresh baguettes to go with it. And so we had these long, French baguettes that we would wrap in this butcher paper, and it looked all cool, and they were walking out with their, baguette and their pesto, and people loved it. People ate it up, literally.
Yeah, so the baguettes are stupid easy to make. Like,
yeah, we knocked out one night we were like, hey, let's make baguettes, and we made like 30 of them, 40 of them.
Yeah, we ended up just like covering every surface of the house in them. So they're really, really easy to make. Just think like a pizza dough, and then let it just like ferment a bit longer, right? And then take it out, roll it into big old snakes. Like the kids love it. Just roll it between your hands while you're above a table, and let gravity help you. And then lay them out flat, spritz the crap out of it with some water while it's baking to get that crispy like crust on it. So halfway through the baking, they bake fast. Like 450 degrees, like 10 minutes they're done. At 5 minutes, open up the oven, spritz. And that causes like a cracker, like saltine cracker, like crust to the top of them. And then you're done. And then they come out, and then they take them out just before they're actually 100% done cooking. And just they'll finish cooking, but it gives it that terry chewiness when you tear it open, and you can do a bunch of them at a time. That 5-gallon bucket worth makes like 50 baguettes, and you're looking at maybe like 30 cents worth of time and materials per baguette. I mean,
Yeah.
So they're easy to give away or sell. Because once again, if you're talking about like what's it called, the cottage industry laws, you can make bread and sell it to your heart's content.
Depends on your state.
Yeah. Well, in Texas you can. You can make it sell any type of bread you want, dessert breads, whatever you want to your heart's content. And we're going to be putting out our book of bread making, and with all of those recipes of how we did all those different stuff, and the zucchini bread, all the different ones. We'll put our book out, and I'll work on it, I swear, this week. And we should have it out in the next 10 to 21 days. It takes a minute to hit and get published. Speaking of which, the kimchi book's up.
Kimchi book is up. Super exciting.
The kimchi book in Banchan. So it's about fermented foods, basically. And kimchi, side dishes, all sorts of good stuff. Has some of my favorites in them. It's just a short book. I mean, it's only like 20 or so pages. So it's only like $5.99. It's on Amazon. It's called KAF or kimchi as blank. You fill in the F part yourself, but the U has a little asterisk, so it's kimchi as you know. Yeah, I swear a lot. I try not to on here, but I have a dirty mouth. And so you can go and pick that up, but it's really simple stuff, guys. Like it's really easy to monetize different things. We enjoyed cooking and we like making that kind of stuff, so it was really easy to make a cookbook for the house. And everybody's always wanting to know what our recipes are, so I was like, I'll start sharing some of them, but I'm not going to put together a huge, giant, 300-page cookbook. I'd rather just do a whole bunch of little cookbooks. Because there's only certain things, like if you want bread, you want bread. You don't need to have kimchi and bread together, right? So we do kind of those little things like that.
See, and that's another way to monetize
it's
your
another
farm.
way to monetize
there's
your
just
farm.
the list is endless, really.
Butters, compound butters, those work really well. I saw that on your list over there.
Don't be looking at my list.
I'm looking at your list. You're
peeking
way
at my
more organized
list.
than me.
Yeah, I know.
Everything's just off the top of my head.
So I plan on having a mini Jersey and a mini Highlander cow on the farm. So I'm going to make butter. I'm going to have an excess of milk every day. There's going to be an apparatus that I have to put on my cow and all that good stuff. And then I'm going to have, milk, and I'll do butter, cheeses, all kinds of stuff.
So compound butters are really easy to make, guys. It's just kind of melt your butter a little bit, gently, preferably in a double boiler, and then add your spices, your herbs and stuff to them, and then cooling it down in a controlled fashion. Don't just crash it in the refrigerator or it'll separate. So you just kind of cool it down in a bath while you stir it constantly. Once it gets to the point where it's malleable, you can then put it into molds as you like, which little pretty molds actually sell pretty well. My favorite ones are like the flower molds, like the silicone flower molds, or weirdly the silicone turtle. It sells. I don't know why people like silicone turtle butter, but they do. And then put like a little sprig of rosemary on top of it, and then wrap it up in your pretty cellophane, and sell it so you can buy butter and then resell it. Buy bulk, like high quality butter. Don't buy, just what is it, Walmart brand, not butter, hydrogenated soybean oil butter. But buy real stuff, and then if you provide a quality product, you can charge quality prices for it. We also have, she has on her list, wines and ciders. Okay, so this is a gray area. No, you can't make hard cider and wine and sell it to the public without a license. That might vary by state, but it is definitely not something you want to do. The license is, however, quite cheap comparatively. So if you wanted to go, if you had like a whole bunch of fruit and fruit trees and you wanted to make wines and ciders, you could totally do that. Now, on the flip side of that, selling classes on how to learn how to make wines and ciders, extremely profitable. And it's a lot of fun. We have parties that we, on the old farm, where we would have a cider fest or an apple fest. And we'd throw this big giant party and everybody come out and help make, everybody come out to, we charge an entrance fee per like individual or per family. And we would like cook, and everything was apple themed. And we would use basically them as slave labor. They would pay unknowingly to come and harvest our apples for us. Right?
That was fun.
Yeah. I was like, we're going to have an apple festival. Yay, everybody. Let's go pick apples for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And learn and to just talk about apples and learn about apples. And everybody's going to pick apples. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then we're going to take all the apples back over to like the gazebo place and eat some barbecue. And the kids are going to dunk for apples and make caramel apples. And we're going to do a cider making demonstration and let people take home some fresh pressed cider. And or sell them a little kit to ferment their fresh pressed cider, with a little jug, a little stopper, like a air stopper at the top, a little packet of freaking yeast, and say, dump A and B, put the top on, and forget about it for 6 weeks. And it's really honestly that simple. So that they've earned as part of their deal, the 1 gallon of cider, the food, and everything else, and taking them as many pictures as they want in a trade for their slave labor of coming out to help us, right? but we also make them pay $20 to come to the party. So we've already covered our expenses for the food, right? And we're getting the value to the farm from having them pick the stuff for us. So to pay them back, they get a gallon of the fresh pressed cider per family or per person, depends. And then now you can sell them a little $5 kit over here with $1 airlock and a 20-cent package of yeast, like a nice ale yeast, and they can make their own cider at home. And that is perfectly freaking legal. Now, selling them hard cider is not. Offering hard cider to drink at the party is perfectly legal. If they're over the age and you want to bust out your farm-made cider and charge a cover fee, hey, I'm going to throw a dinner. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be Harvest Festival dinner. If you would like to buy a drink pass that's for alcoholic beverages, if you're over the age of 21, come get your bracelet. The bracelets are, man, they come in packages of 100 of them for cheap as heck. It's little party bracelets. Pick the color you like. All right, well, the party bracelet's $30, and that gives you unlimited drinks. So they can come up to the bar and get their pitcher full of ale, their pitcher full of wine, their pitcher full of beer, and you can do it that way because they're buying a into the bar, right? Or they're buying a drink pass, but they're buying to with their food, but you're not selling the individual drinks or the bottles. So you can do it that way on your farm and do it really well. Are you running a bar? Not really, because it's on your on your property and it's not leaving your property. Do you run the risk of overselling to someone, having them get shit-faced, crash, and die, and their family sue you? Yes.
So be very careful.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you know that you've seen this individual several times, then stop serving them.
Yeah, if you got a guy over there, he's slurring, he's like, give me another thing of grog. You're like, you're cut off.
And you're taking a cab home.
Yeah, you're going to take a cab home. It's worth it for me to pay $20 to send you home in an Uber than have you crash. You can come pick up your keys later. And not a problem. I mean, we've done that before, and everybody was happy. They felt good that we had taken care of the friend, Like, oh, man, they made sure they got home safe. So we got that good guy award, which is having a good reputation, the good guy award type stuff is always word of mouth going to help you immensely on your farm.
Yeah. Plus, this is also brand building, right? You're getting brand recognition within your community. You're doing good things for your community. You're involved. You're networking. You're being social. So it's always great to have those little events just to kind of bring people together.
Yeah. You had mushrooms up.
Oh yeah. So gourmet mushrooms are a big profit-making venture and actually that's how we started. We went down the rabbit hole of I saw a woman that had a mushroom farm and I was like, hey, I've never thought about growing mushrooms. Like, have you ever grown mushrooms? And we had this whole conversation and we were like, okay, let's try it. And so we did, and voila, we're really good at it. Surprise, Eric's really good at it. And so we saw that there was opportunities to sell to local restaurants, to sell to people that are just wanting to, it's another
revenue stream.
Yeah, no, I was as far as food.
Oh,
why am I stuck?
I don't know.
Having a brain fart here.
It's just I'm gonna warn people right now. Avoid growing trumpets, all right, and avoid growing the oyster mushrooms. Everybody and their mom is growing oyster mushrooms.
It's another food source. There we go. That's what I was saying. It's another food source, right? So if you're vegan and it plays into your diet, then great. Like, it's a meaty food source. It gives you a lot of vitamins, and people are all about it right now, especially drinking it in their coffee. It's good. There's a lot of good things about mushrooms. So anyway, I can go on and on, but that's probably another show.
Stay to the three. Yeah. Stay to the three most profitable: lion's mane, shiitake, and reishi.
Shiitake is amazing. And guys, it was super bougie because I grew my own shiitake mushrooms in my kitchen. And how cool was I to be able to cut my shiitake mushrooms fresh off the block to cook an awesome meal. That's the level of foodie that we're at. So we love that kind of stuff.
Selling mushroom kits quite lucrative. Yep. We still do that.
Yeah, so people can grow their own gourmet mushrooms at home. Definitely there's another way to monetize that. Selling them the genetics of the mushrooms, so lion's mane, pink oyster, shiitake, those are the ones that we're the most popular and requested.
Yeah.
Especially lion's mane.
The pink oyster works as like a good bacon substitute.
Yep.
Weirdly, it
Yeah,
doesn't smell like bacon,
but it
once
tastes
you
like
cook it,
bacon.
it tastes like bacon.
Yeah, you cook
Weird.
it just like bacon. Like you make it crispy and it tastes like bacon.
The only reason I'm saying stay away from those is they're sensitizing. All right, the oyster mushrooms, if you breathe in the spores a lot, they'll cause an allergic reaction to you every time that you get near the spores. So they're super sensitizing. It's a defense mechanism of oyster mushrooms. So to me, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Not for the price that they go for, which is super, super cheap.
Oh,
compared.
The portobellos did well.
The portobellos did well. Those are they have to grow slightly different. But as far as if you were to do this, stay to shiitake and lion's mane and make some money at it. Those require minimal babysitting. They're super, super easy, and they're high dollar.
Yep. And then we have, there's so many other things. So do you want me just to rattle off this list? Because I feel like I should.
Well, we'll talk about your candles real quick.
Okay, so candles. Candles do very well. I was
Chicks
making
love candles.
Chicks love candles. Everybody digs candles, especially for the fall. If you're doing like fall scents, like you really have to. It's all about a theme, right? It's either based on.
Dude that was taking White Claw cans and making candles.
Yeah, exactly.
They were selling them for like $8-9 a piece.
Yep, and probably recycled cans too at that.
He's just like, well, get together and drink with the buddies. So he's cut the tops off.
Exactly.
Pour some stuff in there.
I have a cutter for bottles. So I would get the Topo Chico bottles, and I would make candles out of those. And so they would sell really well. I would put crystals in them, some glitter, and nice scents, and they were soy candles and the best natural candles that you can have in your house. And they were safe to have if you had babies, things like that. And so people bought those like hotcakes. Like I couldn't make enough candles. And so that's another one.
Yeah, so like little things like this, guys, like easy things. Even if you're retired, you got arthritis, it's hard to do. You can pour wax from your microwave into a candle. Like,
yeah.
So all these are easy things you can do. We end up with a lot of our listeners are older people. Some of them are quite old, like they're in their 50s and 60s.
Actually, the demographic's changing though. Like I think ever since COVID, a
Well,
lot of our listeners are a lot younger now.
Yeah, we have younger listeners, but we do have we get email from a lot of the older people.
Yeah.
Who have they might have a disability of some sort. They're looking for extra income to make off of their little farm that they have. Man, candles are so easy to make.
Yeah, candles are fun.
You just got to be really careful about painting yourself into a corner with candles. If you're going to be the weird hippie person with candles, own it. But if you just want to be general, hey, these are just awesome farm candles.
Yeah.
I would stay on the more neutral side of, hey, these are awesome farm candles, than try to paint myself into the corner of, hey, I'm a hippie and this rubbing this counterclockwise on your foot cures athlete's foot.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I like putting the crystals because they look pretty, and people were really digging those types of candles at that time. So I was just listening to my audience, and I thought they were pretty, and I liked them. So there was that.
On your cement pots.
Yeah, the cement pots are really cool because you can make cement pots really cheap. They're very cool looking. You can paint them. You can put starters in them, and sell like little starter plants to go with your cement pots, and people love them. So they're just really cool looking, and a lot of people are all about like the cement countertops right now, the more natural looking homes, natural elements in your homes, and so So again, listen to my audience.
I've even seen the silicone molds for those.
Yeah.
Like on Amazon.
All types of silicone molds. You can use a beach ball. You can use all kinds of stuff, But that's going to be that was a really good one.
We've covered jams and jelly, obviously.
Jams and jellies, obviously. If you have an orchard, you're going to have to make jams and jellies.
Breads, random pastries. Pastries sell well. People look at America. We're not skinny people. We love pastries. So pastries work really, really well. What do you made? A bunch of those empanadas.
Yep, hand pies.
Really well. Empanadas and hand pies work really well.
Sorry, we just have a big debate about empanadas or hand pies. He calls them hand pies. I call them empanadas. So I'm really surprised that he said empanadas.
It's the same.
Oh, you really fought me tooth and nail one day.
Because I was like, I am making hand pies. You mean empanadas? I was like,
I'm like,
today,
none of my
these are
family's gonna
called
say. He's
hand
like,
pies.
call your family and tell them I'm making hand pies. And I'm like, hell no, I'm not gonna call them and tell them that. I'm gonna say empanadas because they're gonna be like, what? Hand pies? What's that?
It's very easy to make. Just make you a whole bunch of pie dough, roll it out, cut it, put it in your hand, add a dab of jam or jelly or fruit cocktail mix or whatever you want in the middle of it, and then bake the crap out of it. Brush some
Yeah.
butter on it and bake it.
So some of the jams and jellies that did really well all the time, obviously strawberry. Strawberry's going to be like your number one. I think people just feel safer because it's strawberry, and a lot of them don't like to like think, they don't like to try new things, for their palate or anything. And so, but strawberries were really good, and so was apple butter. Apple butter would sell out all the time. And our mesquite jelly. So see, like the little artisanal ones that are different, like, a lot of people really like them.
Yeah, the mesquite bean jelly, it was kind of hard to get people to try to taste it a bit originally. But we had an open taster, but the problem is you can't let people just get their own damn taste of jelly. They're assholes. They'll lick the spoon and put it back.
Yeah, no.
So you've got to have somebody standing there wearing gloves, and you take a cracker, you put a little smear of it on there, and then give them the cracker and then let them eat the cracker. People are disgusting. So
yeah, I was just thinking like mesquite jelly with like some goat cheese on a cracker.
Oh,
that'd be amazing. Yeah,
mesquite
so that'd be really
bean
good.
jelly tastes like the way fresh cut mesquite like would. Smells but with some vanillas in it.
Yeah.
It's sweet. It's really time consuming.
Yeah.
To make. You take a whole bunch of mesquite beans. And how you do this is you walk through, you find an area that has a bunch of mesquite trees, has a bunch of beans that are yellow, like ready to go, right? They're dry. And you walk through there and you break a bean in half and you touch it to your tongue. Is it sweet? No. Move to the next tree. And then you do that and you touch it. And once you find a sweet tree, and they're not all the same, some are called like honey mesquite or blah, 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 blah. There's a bunch of different names for them. But once you find a tree that's sweet, strip all the beans out of it. They're going to take those beans home and break them up. Like, you can do it by hand. You can do it using a device or blender or whatever. I just find that breaking them up by hand and just snapping them into like 5 or 6 little pieces and then putting them in a big pot and putting them on a low simmer for hours. Like 6 or 7 hours. You want to make a really strong tea, like coffee-looking tea out of it. Then you take that and then you simmer that down until it's, about half of what it originally was. You taste it, it'll start tasting like a syrup. Now you can add a little bit of sugar and treat it like a jam. Normally would add some pectin and rock and roll.
To thicken it up.
Yeah.
Yep. So the other ones that were really good that sold really fast were our blackberry jam and our raspberry jam.
Yeah.
Those sold really quickly. So
Fig sold.
the more specialized fruit ones sold really well. Okay, so we also have microgreens. So microgreens is huge. Right now there's a big push for microgreens. So I'm definitely going to have a container that my husband's going to build a little microgreen farm for me. And I'm going to I'm going to contact local like Whole Foods, Sprouts, and see if anybody wants to buy microgreens, and also sell them potentially like at farmers markets and stuff,
And restaurants.
And restaurants. I mean, just remember this, guys. Like our like retirement goal is to have like a store, like a little, an outpost store, like where you can find everything that's all natural, that's locally sourced from a farm, that's organic, and just really like our goal, like as a family, we just want to close the loop. Like everything that we grow, that we make, that we harvest, we just want it, like we want to cycle it back within our family and our community.
Those old timey like general stores.
Yeah.
Where you'd go buy your bacon, your salt pork, your greens, your flour, your baked goods,
your deli meats,
your
cheeses,
some hard goods and farm
flours, like
stuff.
Just artisanal stuff, cool stuff. So that's always been our dream. So that's why we have such a huge list of things that we'd like to do, because we tried it all, literally. Okay, so microgreens is going to be a good one.
Beauty products.
Beauty products. So beauty products are huge. I would make lotions. I would make chapstick. I would make soap. My husband makes a very, very good soap, and it sold like hotcakes. And
I'd say
so
probably the highest return on ROI was chapstick.
Yeah.
Like
that was the highest ROI, but our most popular product in that category was definitely the soap.
Yeah, the soap.
Definitely the soap.
The chapstick, I think it cost us. It was cost like 11 cents to make a tube of chapstick. Because the tube itself was 5 cents. The high quality ingredients, the flavoring, and everything else that went in there was like another 6 cents, and including the little label, the little heat shrink label.
Yeah.
So it all came down to about, like 10, 11 cents for a tube of chapstick sells for like $2.
Yeah.
So, like, it's really kind of hard to beat, like, a 20,000%.
Yeah.
Like,
and it was also nice to have, it came in handy a lot of times, because we would make, like, friends with people, and we'd be like, hey, here, have a chapstick, on us, or whatever. And it was just such a small thing, but it was a huge thing for them, so.
Yeah. It was honestly cheap enough that you could turn them into business cards.
Literally.
Yeah. I mean, because, like, the tubes, you buy the tube, if you don't buy a 100-pack of the tubes, you want to buy like 1,000 pack of the tubes to keep the price down, but you're still looking like 1,000 tubes for like $15.
Yeah.
So like it was with shipping.
Yeah.
So like it's super cheap. It's cheap enough that you could just get a label printer or like download just get the little Avery labels. Avery labels. Download the little template. Make your little business card on there and seal them with that. And then now they carry it around with them all the time. And every time they look at your chapstick, they rock and roll.
Right.
For flavorings, we did a lot of like alcoholic drinks.
Margarita, pina colada,
yeah.
But people loved them. So those are really cool to make and fun. The soap would sell really well because if you had kids or even adults that suffer from eczema, this was all natural soap made with oil and lye and water. And it was like your old-timey castor soap, right? Castile soap. Sorry. Castile soap.
Yeah, Castile soap is just olive oil, water, and lye, basically.
Yeah.
But we added a whole bunch of other stuff in there. We'll have to talk about it because that is an entire episode of its own.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have a whole soap making episode, so we promise. That's a big one.
Rabbit hole.
So we'll go down that rabbit hole and talk about that. And then I did beef tallow, because beef tallow is really good for your face and for wrinkles and for as an anti-aging moisturizer. And so a lot of people prefer natural products. There is a niche for people that want natural products that don't have any chemicals, because you have to consider you can have an allergic reaction to some chemicals within makeups and stuff. And so that sold really well because women are all about natural products, and your body is a big organ, your skin is an organ, and what's the absorption rate on your skin?
It depends on what part of your skin it is.
Yeah. Either way, like whatever you're putting on your skin, like you're literally absorbing that. So people love those products. They love the lotion, and yeah.
And you don't need to you can go and get large amounts of this fat to render if you go to a local butcher. And
that was my next one. Yeah. Oils.
And you can buy the fat to render.
Yeah. So
sometimes they'll sell it for like making sausage.
Yep.
But also if you're just like, hey, I want to buy 50 pounds of pig lard, and they're like, cool. Do you mind if it's just fresh off the pig? No, because you're gonna eat the cracklings. That's the best part. Give me a little piece. Give me a piece of little bits of meat on there. I'm gonna cut it all up and fry it and eat that stuff as I go. It's delicious.
So one thing that we did really cool, or that was really cool one time, is we rendered the fat from an Iberico pig that we got at our local butcher, and it was really cool because this was like a more top of the line butcher local here, and we were surprised that they had it, one, and two, that they were selling it so cheap. And so we bought a whole bunch of it, and we literally rendered it for hours. And let me tell you, I had the best cooking oil for months because I had so many jars of this beautiful Iberico oil. And
it was like...
Yeah. How much did an Iberico ham go for? Like $400?
Yeah, it was like $400 for the ham, but they sold us the fat for like I paid $50 for like a huge tub. A huge tub of the fat, because they're like, nobody wants the fat. I'm like, that's the best part.
Yeah.
And we took it. I mean, this fat was so creamy that at room temperature, it was basically a liquid.
Right.
Like it would turn. You could just handling the actual fat off of the pig would coat your hands in oil, just because it would just melt at skin temperature. And so
it was a really beautiful oil.
We had to render it at such a low temperature.
Yeah, it took all day.
Yeah, it took all day.
And all kinds of beers.
All kinds of beers, yeah. But we rented it so low and slow, and it was so worth it.
And it was fun.
And we give it away.
Oh yeah, we did it before Christmas, and so there were these beautiful mason jars of just like this Iberico,
Snow white,
oil,
beautiful.
and it was beautiful. And we gave them away. Like I am also very creative, so I'll make like holiday baskets, with all our goodies, all our farm goodies, and that was one of the farm goodies at one point, and everybody loved it. So,
and you get people that are big supporters of your farm.
Yep.
Like we have people that send us seeds every year, or pay for like plants.
Or people that would literally ask us, like, "Hey, when are you guys going to plant? We'll go out there and help you." And so, like, they would come out for planting
and then
season
actually help, and not just,
actually help and learn,
not
and
just come out because it's planting season to watch us like do work.
Yeah.
So like what you get, so you do get people like that who just come out and want to watch you work.
Yeah.
Versus actually want to get dirty, but you get the people that would actually help. We would make sure to do something cool for them.
Like cook for them,
or give them a good present around Christmas. Right. Keep in touch with them, become friends.
Or teach them things, like classes, are expensive. So we'd be like, hey, what do you want to learn? And we'd teach them something. So that was really cool. What else? We have
your teach classes.
I mean, teach classes, right?
Oh, so, man. And you can charge pretty much whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. Because remember, guys, artisanal skills, that sells.
Skills are something that's going on that's rare.
It is.
It's very rare to find somebody that knows how to take wheat from a field and turn it into bread, right? Nowadays, it sounds like it's really easy. It's kind of a little bit more involved than you think it is. But to teach a class that, and there's a bit of showmanship that goes with it. Like when I'm teaching a class, I'm talking about the history of the wheat. I'm talking about this wheat was first grown in Algeria. This is the type of wheat that baby Jesus would have seen when he was walking through fields. And, and so I'm talking about the history of it while I'm processing it. I'm talking about why I'm processing it a certain way. And I like to be a good orator when I'm trying to do this kind of thing. And make the classes very hands-on. Mm-hmm. And so I'll bring 4 or 5 of stations, and I'll have everybody doing what I'm doing at the same time as me talking.
Yep.
Right? And then everybody makes their own loaf of bread, and we all talk, and it's a great time. And everybody it really enjoys it. And because of that, I can charge, $50 to go to someone's house, $50 a head, to teach a bread making class. Well, I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but a lot of times people get like 12 or 20 people together. Mm-hmm. So that's like $550, $600. Of course I'm going to go over there, and I'm going to be as charming as possible, and have everything laid out, and teach like a college level course on how to make freaking bread and make it fun. Everybody's going to have fun. Even if there's that one person that drives me nuts, and later on the way home I'm going to be like, oh, I hate that person. I'm going to be like, thank you for your money. Merry Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And so, it's just, man, it's a blast.
Yeah. We really enjoy doing that. But I mean, classes on, soap making, cheese, butter, jams, jellies. I mean, classes galore, right? So it's just insane at how much opportunity there is there.
I would strongly suggest that if you go to teach a class, that it is a class that you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You had better be the expert.
Right.
Because people are going to ask you a million questions.
Yep.
And some of them are going to be far-fetched. Like, hey, when did strawberries, where did they come from? You better know.
Oh, my husband will tell you the genetics of each fruit and
cross
genetics. Yeah. So we have this inside joke here at the house. Like, if you guys are familiar with Family Guy and Buzz Killington, where we're like, everybody's just having fun, and like my husband's like, oh, well, do you want to know the genetics of this apple? And I'm like, not really. Not really. I don't have enough RAM for that. I don't have enough storage space for that.
But yeah, so you better have a good understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
And be able to answer a lot of questions. And it helps if you're not looking forward at your own notes. If you need to look at notes, take a bathroom break real quick and go look at your notes. Right? It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt them. You're always at a point. There's generally a point that somewhere you're going to stop. Do bring your own equipment. Don't rely on the person to have their equipment if they even if they say they have their own equipment. You could run into a customer who's like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I have everything you need. You need to show up, honey, and just teach a class. Yeah. And you're like, yeah. And you show up and they don't have pectin, they don't have an acid, they don't have jars ready, they don't have anything like that. So bring your own equipment, included in the price, right? Of like you have to take your stuff home to wash it.
Yeah.
And I try not to do washing and cleanup there at someone else's house, just because they're paying me for a service, and so I just put everything in totes and take it home and wash it.
Yep.
You know. So keep everything clean.
Okay. So we covered teach classes. Okay, backdrops. So this is where I come in. This is my expertise because I'm a designer. So I like creating backdrops and like creating like this whole like mesmerizing wall of beauty, right? Where you can go and take a picture in front of, do a selfie, do family portraits, hire a photographer, whatever the case may be. But you'll come over and take pictures in a backdrop. All, in front of the backdrop, especially for like holidays. You could do it holiday themed. You could do it, specific party themed or just because themed or, all kinds of stuff, right? So there's so many ideas there. And then the next one was lemonades. So I actually just went down this rabbit hole a couple of weeks ago and I was like, I want to make my own fresh lemonades. And so I started looking at things and I was like, okay. And so I found a, recipe that I wanted to follow. I bought all the stuff and voila, I made lemonades. And I was like, okay, let me test these out. I'm going to make them. My aunt had a family party. And if y'all are familiar with Hispanic parties, it's a fiesta. Like there's all types of people. They are big, so it's a lot of fun, a lot of people. So I was like, what better place to test my lemonades than at a family party, right? And so, yeah, there I was shaking up lemonades, and I had a line until 1 a.m. And I was like, oh, man, these are good. Like, this works too good. The next day, my clavicle and my wrists were literally swollen, not swollen, but sore from, like, muddling all the lemons. Yes, I muddled them all by hand because I don't have that big old expensive piece of equipment that, it's like a hydraulic press that presses lemons. I don't have that. It's too expensive. That will be a goal later. Anyway, but lemonades, right? So if you have like a backdrop, you do lemonades, you do hot chocolate, whatever the season is, whatever the theme is, like do it. Like it's going to draw attention. It's going to bring, you need that hook, right? You want people to be like intrigued and be like, ooh, I want to go there because I want to take pictures. I want to pick flowers or I want to get,
$5 to come in and take pictures. Your backdrop.
And there you go.
But then have your lemonades ready, your chocolate, your hot chocolate ready. Some
fresh pastries, pastries.
Like everything else to get ready to go, because now you have a captive audience who's already got it in their head that they're going somewhere, they've spent money to go somewhere, and now there's more stuff to buy, and they're in a good mood because they just got 1 billion likes on Instagram for having the really cool picture of the backdrop.
Yeah, so love that stuff.
Another thing is ignore the hell out of Instagram influencers.
Oh yeah,
don't pay anybody shit.
No, but make sure that you're leveraging your socials, especially if you're trying to build within a, I'm a big proponent of inside out. I like to build my community within and grow it out. And so if I'm doing that, I'm going to use my social media. I'm going to understand my target audience, my demographic, and I'm going to post things that are going to interest them. And I'm going to do cool stuff and, entice them to come out. So definitely leverage all your platforms, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I wouldn't go as far. I mean, if you want to go as far as running ads, just know that, it gets a little steep having to pay Facebook and Instagram for ad spend. But just know that, it depends. You'd have to have enough runway at least for 3 months on spending some ad spend. So that way you can gauge whether or not it's worth it to run paid ads. If not, just stick to non-paid ads and just, hit the boost or promote on them and see if you can get some more hits and just be consistent, guys, with your socials. I can't express enough how you have to be consistent with your socials. If you're trying to build a brand and brand awareness, then nobody's going to fly your flag harder than you. So if you're not out there beating your own drum, like no one's going to know about you because you can't sell a secret. So people have to know about you. Marketing is all about in your face, like, hey, I'm here. So just remind people that you're there, okay?
Yeah, but I'm not a big fan of you see the Instagram influencers. Oh, if you give me this for free, I'll put pictures.
Oh
of it.
Yeah, no,
nah.
Not cool with that.
Nah,
but I do like to deal with like-minded individuals. I'm drawn to a lot of local entrepreneurs and they're drawn to me because
we cross-promote
we always exactly,
which is completely different.
Yeah, and so that's different. So somebody that adds value and that you guys can work together, definitely focus on those individuals, not the ones that want all the freebies and stuff.
No.
So the next thing is spices. So this is a big one because my husband makes his own steak salt that's very popular. So people will pay, $20 for how big is that package?
Big.
Yeah, it's a big
3.5
package.
pounds.
So they'll pay $20 for his spices. I want to try to grow. My husband's going to say something. I already see his face. I want to try to grow saffron or crocus so I can harvest saffron.
Okay.
And he's like, "What the heck?" And I'm like,
well,
"What?"
You're just gonna have to train the tiny beast.
Yeah.
To be able to pluck the little freaking.
Yeah. So I mean.
I'm old. I'm
no.
not gonna crawl
I know.
around
I want to do that though. So it's just something that I want to experience, or I want to, experiment with. So I'm definitely going to try to grow my own crocus because saffron is very expensive. So I want to see what I can do there. But spices is a good one. We talked about oils. Parties, right? So now you have, because before you know it, guys, unbeknownst to you all, once you start growing a lot of vegetation, you set up your orchard, like these just start looking beautiful naturally. And so now you have a little venue, right? If you want to throw an outdoor party for somebody, an outdoor party for 25 people or private party or whatever, make it all bougie in a garden, you could literally like rent a venue and include food, include arrangements and design and decor.
Rent a potty.
Yeah,
They're
and
cheap.
do.
They're totally worth it.
Yeah,
for like $100, they'll come put a potty out there.
And they have really nice ones. Like they have really pretty ones for
They'll come drop it off, clean it, pick it up, and take it away. And for like $100.
Yeah,
and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to. You just lock your on thing bathroom.
Yeah,
and then make everybody use the porta potty.
Well, we were pretty spoiled because they had potties out. They had really nice restrooms out there. They're not even potties. They were really nice restrooms at the garden where we worked at, or where my husband worked at. And so that was really nice. But if you have to rent them, of course, try to look for something pretty. Don't look for the typical potty, the blue ones. I hate those.
It's fine.
Anyway,
it doesn't matter.
Moving
it's
on.
Totally worth it to have people not crap in your bushes.
But parties, totally worth it, right? But parties, that's another revenue stream, right? Especially weddings. If you want to have a garden wedding, and you want to include the florals, because guess what? You're growing flowers anyway. So if you want to have a bride that wants to pay you X amount of dollars for X amount of floral arrangements, then hey, there you go. There's your.
And don't price yourself. Don't price yourself low to make the sale.
No. Not at all. And people will pay, it's how bad do they want it? And if they want it, they're going to pay, right? If they see the value and if they trust you, if they like your work and they see your reviews, which I pride myself in always having 5-star reviews. So super excited about that. But, so that's another stream of revenue there. And then field trips, get with your local schools, if they want to have a garden field trip and want to teach their 3rd grade class, like how to plant, cucumbers or whatever,
Most of them just want to come and actually put hands on
a
farm and look at it and walk through there.
Right.
Put your dog up.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't care if your dog is the sweetest, oldest dog in the entire freaking world. Some kid out there is terrified of the dog. And, they're going to freak out around the dog and run into something and get hurt. Or
they're going to bully your dog or throw a rock at your dog. Your dog's going to react.
Put your dog up. Not worth it. Put your dog up. If you have a goat that's mean, put your goat up.
Yep.
Only leave out friendly things and lock everything else up. Far away from people.
Yep.
If you're going to do a field trip for kids, you can get with the schools. Schools actually have money set aside for things like this. And there's initiatives and grants that they can get to take kids on field trips to go around where their food's made. And you're going to get, 75 or 80% of that grant money.
Yeah, and it could be a recurring thing. For every school year, you have Miss Walls' class that comes out and does a field trip or whatever, 4 or 5 times a year. Yeah, so you also have, agriculture schools, or colleges, and where people want to come out and hey, you want to rent this little 20 by 20 square and grow whatever, give it a go, you know what I mean? And we'll teach you. And
I do better demonstrations.
Yeah.
I would do demonstrations for those. Because a lot of them, they see, oh, hey, we're learning about hydroponics. Want to come see the different types of hydroponics in use and action?
Yep.
And so having your working farm and being able to show demonstrations and sell demonstrations that works a lot better for your older crowd.
Yeah, definitely. So field trips, tours. You can also do tours, like if just a group of people, that are like foodies or wine lovers, they want to come take a tour in a beautiful garden. I mean, the garden that my husband worked out of, and I worked out of there too because I helped him, right? But that garden was just so beautiful. I mean, I could not believe it was in West Texas. I could not believe my husband could grow and just be so fruitful out there, in this dry desert heat, zone. And so we want to make, like, definitely our garden's going to be just as beautiful. Like, that's the goal. And so when you have that type of garden venue, you can do, tours where you're selling coffees and playing some music. Maybe you have like a celloist that's playing in the garden or something like that, right? And you're having they're coming out and trying some wines or whatever, wine tasting.
Our pro tip is to find those people who are hungry enough to come and play at your garden for a few bucks.
Yeah,
is at the college.
Yep.
We'd find college kids who are going for like string instruments or like in band in college. We were playing viola, violin, cello, whatever. We'd be like, hey, I'll give you $100 to come out here and play for 4 hours. They'd be like, what? I was like, yeah, I'll give you $100 and plus $20 for gas, free food. You can take as many vegetables as you want home. And hey, find a couple of your friends, I'll give them the same deal. I'll give them $20 for gas to coming out here because we're ways out here, plus $100. You can take as much food home as you want. And next thing you know, I have a full string band who are not amateurs because they're like seniors in college who literally going to school for this and have their college paid because they're so good, right? These are the people who are going to end up being like the next Mozarts and stuff. And so, and I paid like $300 or $400 to have what would have normally cost me, $5,000 to $10,000 to have.
Yeah.
And once you make those relationships with those kids, you can pretty much call them at any time. They're kind of pro tip. They're usually not like the most popular kids in school, so they're usually not doing anything on Fridays and Saturday nights when you want to do a party. So they're happy.
And they're happy to get fed and spoiled, and we're really sweet.
Out.
Like, we're always spoiling everybody that hangs out with us. I mean, I have friends that I'm like, hey, my husband's gonna make a batch of sausage. Like, do you want some summer sausage? And I'll go take it to you, and I'm all about it. I'm all about sharing the goods. So, the other thing that we have here is private lunches. I think my husband covered this, maybe not, but no. You could do private lunch. Like, we had a group of women. They were like some kind of society. I forget what they were. It was totally made up. Yeah, it was totally made up. It was just, the Real Housewives of West Texas, and they wanted to have an exclusive private garden lunch. And so we gave it to them, and we had, I went as far as like making arrangements using the artichokes. The artichokes are very beautiful, guys, by the way. It looks like a flower. It's so beautiful. It is a flower. Yeah. So it's just very beautiful. So I used it in my arrangement, and I made like a garland across the table, and we had they had food there, and
we'd hire a chef to come out, and normally it was from a new startup restaurants, like restaurants that were just trying to get their name out there. So the chefs were usually, or the owners of the restaurants were usually pretty hungry to get their name out there, especially with like a more bougie type crowd.
And they had access to all our garden grows, so
they could take as many pictures on social media. So we ended up getting them for pretty cheap. I think the most we paid was $200 to have them come out and do a breakfast. We provided everything. Yep. They brought their own knives because they're snotty like that. But other than that, we provided everything. They could bring their helper to film and take pictures in this beautiful location. They got to promote the living crap out of their services and the restaurant, plus make enough money to cover their basis. And we had chefs lining up. Right, after the first time that we did it, word got around. Wait, we can go out and showcase our stuff out there? Yes, you can. We're not going to pay you a premium, but we'll pay you enough to cover your time, like $200. But at the same time, we're charging $50 a plate, like for the breakfast, the brunch, for the people, and that includes champagne mimosas.
Yeah, we had mimosas. We had florals, we had
Yeah.
veggies, we had and then we also taught them something.
Yeah.
We taught pickling. We did pickling that day, so we made pickles, and we
Everybody
taught them
got
how to
take
make
home
pickles.
like a small jar of pickles. And so it was, worth it for them. Worth it for us. The first 4 people covered the cost of the fancy chef, who also like fed us and our family. Like
Yeah.
we had plenty of food left over. He came out and made crepes with he had his little helper go out there and pick blackberries and figs, and we showed him what stuff was in season. We had eggs right there from our chickens.
Yeah, he did a
and-
little balsamic vinaigrette on a watermelon with like goat cheese. That was really good, and a
Yeah.
mint. Yeah.
And he just used everything from our farm to feed these people, and so it blew the people's mind, and it became a monthly thing.
Yep.
And then it started trying to become a weekly thing, where we'd have like reoccurring bunches of people. But we'd have like 18, 20 people, 25, 30 people sometimes show up to these things. $50 a head, you make pretty good money really quick.
Yep.
And then you can charge, hey, this was the brunch, but we're going to do a like early dinner. It's going to be a little bit more fancy, but it's going to be $100 a head. And it gives you a chance to get to get your venue open and start making more money that way.
Yep. And then we have garden builds and consultations. So this is
You better know what you're doing.
yeah. Eric
Right.
gets these
So-
questions a lot because people are just so amazed by what he's able to build and what he's capable of and all the skills that he has. And so the next logical question is like, hey, can you help me start my garden at home?
And I will
hey,
be more than happy
yeah,
to do so.
definitely.
But you're going to pay me to do it, but I'm not going to charge like a ridiculous fee. I'm not one of those people who,
No, not at all.
Who thinks that my poop doesn't stink, and it's like, it's $1 million to get me to come out there. Cover my expenses, and I'll come out and see everything. And then, if you want me to build something, then we'll talk about prices from there. But you better know what you're talking about, because if you steer one person wrong, or you just spout a bunch of random crap, and then it comes to find out they're not successful, your name will go bad, and nobody will ever talk to you again. Word spreads really quick on forums and Discord and Facebook
Yeah.
and everything else. So if you're going to do consulting, it better not be your first year farmer who has had one successful grow under your belt. You better know what you're doing.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
What was I going to tell you? I don't know why, when you were just saying that and talking about that, it just reminded me of the owner from that food truck that just went berserk over the weekend and was like talking down to all his customers.
Yeah, if you have a problem with a customer, don't.
If you have
Don't
no
argue
customer
with them
service skills,
Don't argue with them on
step
social
away.
media. So part of that, the thing comes from, is this guy who has a really cool food truck, and he has his food on his Instagram looks amazing. He was busy that day, so he was turning out subpar stuff. Instead of making people wait an extra 10 or 15 minutes for their food, he was just trying to push it out there as fast as he could. And what he was doing was he was sending out the door subpar stuff. Some people took a picture of it put it on Facebook. We're like, man, this just it was not very good. This is expectation versus reality, kind of like Pink Post. And he got on there and just argued with everybody and called everybody pieces of shit. And, it was very, very rude. And how do you think that went? It did not go well for him. You're not going to win against, 30 or 40 other people. It's just not going to win. You're not going to go well. So he came out and made himself look terrible. And since then, I don't imagine that his business has gone super well. Because he really did come out and show his ass. He really did. And if you have a problem with a customer or something, do your best to make it right. But know that sometimes they're just trying to get free shit from you. So I'm sorry that you didn't have a good experience or blah, blah, blah. It's probably my fault. Why don't you stop back by and we can see what we can do to make it right. Or hey, next time you're out there, let me know, remind me who you are, and we'll see what we can do to make it right.
It's crazy how much more successful you'll be if you're just charming and you have
if you're just
charisma and you're
nice.
fun and you treat people the way you want to be treated and you're sweet and you're just funny and just be cool, man. Be cool.
It's not hard to be cool. It's not hard.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to be nice to people.
Okay, so garden builds and consultations, a self-serve farm stand, guys.
Oh.
So that is on fire right
Yes.
now.
Those are all over the social media. I had never actually seen one until I started seeing them pop up all over YouTube and social media and places like that. They work on the honor system, and but I mean, they still have like people put a little camera out there, just to kind of keep people the honor system honorable. But they seem to work really well. I've seen the ones that have like the little refrigerator section in them. And they have like their milk and the refrigerated goods.
Their eggs.
Yeah, and some like flowers and all sorts of stuff. And they sell out. Like they do great. The great part is of the self-service thing is that there's the people don't have access to cash. Right? Because the cash goes in a slot. Mm-hmm. So they have to either provide exact change or tip you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If something is $6.50 and they have $7 in cash, I mean, unless they have 50 cents, they're just going to put the $7 in there.
Yeah.
And call it a day, right?
Yeah. So that was pretty cool, and it's cute too. You go and just load up your little self-serve stand in the morning. Fill it all up, and then voila. Just people go and give them instructions, of course.
I probably wouldn't do it in the ghetto.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not a good idea. But I mean, obviously, test it out. If you see it's not a good idea in your local area, then obviously it's not going to work, right?
But
and
maybe
that's
it's
okay.
a good idea somewhere else, and somebody else will let you set up somewhere else.
Right. Like maybe you have a friend that lives in a bougie neighborhood, and you can do your little self-serve farm stand there and take all your farm goodies. Like, guys, it's just so many endless ideas. Okay.
Yeah, I like the idea.
Yeah.
You can make it as cute as you want. You can
right.
make it
These were super cute.
Yeah, they had little cute refrigerators in them.
They had little cute notes and daily affirmations that you would write on a board. And how cute is that?
It was cute enough backstop that people wanted to take pictures of.
Yeah, and then so there you go. People are promoting your farm stand because they're taking selfies in front of it. You're giving them something pretty enough to take a picture in front of. And that's literally what it's all about right now. Everybody's about social medias. So self-serve farm stand. Fruit baskets. I like to make and sell fruit baskets, and people love buying them. So fruit baskets, charcuterie boards.
Custom ones, the custom fruit basket we would build these little crates.
Mm-hmm.
This little, it was 4 minutes and a stapler?
Yeah, 4 minutes and a stapler. We would brand them.
It came with this cute, I made a cute little, we figured out one crate could be made from 2 fence pickets.
Yep.
So it was 2 fence pickets makes one crate, and these are just I think they were $1.20 something a piece. Home Depot just generic fence pickets.
Yep.
We buy 2 of those, and we have the little pre-cut little pieces, just chop, saw, blown, make a whole bunch of them at once, and it was literally 4 minutes from the time that you cut them to the time they're all put together. And then we had a brand, literally just a cow brand, that we had bought off of, I don't remember, Etsy or something like that. There was an electric one we just plugged in. It got hot as heck, scary, frightening hot, and then we would just and brand the wood. We'd line them all up and we'd brand them all at once. Mm-hmm. And it was just a few seconds. Sorry, our daughter's eating mangoes, and evidently mangoes taste slimy. And she's really big into texture, and she really likes slimy. And
she likes mangoes.
She's super excited to tell us when she found something that's slimy.
So, so baskets. So fruit baskets, I would make these fruit baskets with florals in them, with homemade, beauty products. And man, what a gift, right? And then I would shrink wrap them, put a bow, again, because I've been designing for many years.
And we deliver
so I'm just familiar with all that stuff. So we would deliver them in town for Christmas, birthdays, all kinds of stuff. So I would get, sought out to make baskets, and so that was another. And they were not cheap.
They were $340.
Yeah, depending on the size of the basket and what you wanted, because competitors that I've received basket, just competitors. Haven't you ever noticed they only have a couple of products at the top and everything else is filler beneath? That wasn't my basket. Mine was heavy. Mine was full because I was I wasn't gonna be that guy. I wanted them to get
everything we made on farm. There was soap. There was pancake mix. There was
it was amazing.
Hot chocolate mixes. There was spices and honey and breads and bread mixes and soup mixes and like everything you can imagine. I mean, it was like a week's worth of groceries.
Yeah, like a little treasure. So that was really cool. So you could do that. You could get with your local restaurants and sell veggies and fruit directly to them. A lot of times they're either looking for something specific,
Specialty
or
stuff.
they're looking for specialty things, or they're not getting as high of a quality. I mean, because if you've had your own organic farm food, and I'll tell you that I could attest to this, that it tastes different. It is so different. It is so rich and delicious, and it's just a different experience all around.
My highest seller, surprisingly, it's going to sound weird, was I took black eyed peas and I had just planted an entire row of black eyed peas. Now, black eyed peas are a bean, right? That grows up straight off the plant. So instead of having to bend over like a green bean to pick it, they stick straight up off the top of the plant. So you can just walk down the row and just snap with your fingers and get like a whole, like handfuls of green beans at a time. So much easier to harvest than traditional green beans. But they make the thinner type green beans you see like a French style kind of green bean. Those, I would sell those by the cooler load to restaurants for fresh green beans. For like these little cafes, stuff like that. That was one of my biggest sellers.
Yeah.
Was the fresh green beans. But all they were was just black eyed peas I bought at the store. I buy like one 2-pound package of black eyed peas and do 1,000 foot row, which was an ungodly amount every week of green beans. Sell them as green beans instead of black eyed peas, because there are green beans until they fill out and turn into black eyed peas. And I sold so many of those. Were they high dollar? No, they weren't high dollar.
Yeah.
But volume wise, it got my foot in the door, and then I started selling. Like, hey, by the way, I have shiitake mushrooms.
Or
hey,
we have Kajari melons.
Yeah.
You know, our Kajari melons were like a hit, and everybody knew us because of the Kajari, or knew my husband because of the Kajari. So that was like a unique melon that you couldn't really find anywhere local. And if you sourced it, it was very expensive. But because they could source it there locally, they got the best of both worlds. It was inexpensive, and they got it there, right, delivered, to their restaurant. And so they would serve it up with like ice cream and things like that. So that was a really popular one. They would even make like a melon water out of them, and that was really good.
So I had something to get my foot in the door, which was those cheap green beans. And I mean, they were only selling like $2 a pound. Like, it wasn't anything like to write home about. A cooler's worth would get you, like maybe $100.
Yep.
But for the amount of work, really not worth it.
Yeah.
Unless you have children.
Like,
slave labor.
You get your foot in the door, with something special, specialty item at your local restaurant, but then you can tell them, hey, I have microgreens, I have mushrooms, and there you go.
Peppers,
like, you're creating that
melons,
frenzy, you're creating that momentum, and it's just gonna be profitable, and that's just the way to do it. The other thing that we like to do is beekeeping. So sourcing or making,
that's a youth,
creating our own honey. So super excited. I've been reading a lot about beekeeping. They had a suit, and they had like a little, a box, at
it was a tough farm.
At the ranch that we were at. But I didn't start up there. There was an incident where we did save some bees, but it was a totally unrelated incident. But I do intend to have like a full-blown beekeeping operation. So I've been reading up a lot on it. Just making my own honey, even for my own products, like that'd be great and amazing. Having fresh honey for my tea and my family's tea and my daughter's tea, because we all like tea at night, like for our little nightcap, like definitely worth it for us. So I will keep you posted on how that goes and how that journey goes. Probably have a whole session on beekeeping, really, because it's a rabbit hole. So, but guys, you're not limited to learning and evolving and just
and bees are one of the easiest ways to get
agriculture
exempt.
ag exempt. Yep. So I mean, you can do beekeeping. You can grow fruits and veggies, but it's got to be. There's more rules to that. But beekeeping is the one that's more straightforward. So
you only need like 5 acres and so many beehives in your ag exempt.
Yeah, exactly.
And even then, there's some municipalities and areas where you can get ag exempt on 2 acres if you have like 3 beehives.
Yeah.
So so bees are a really, really cool, really, really fast, easy way to do that. I think
We've covered a lot.
we've covered enough that we've probably given these guys like whiplash.
Yeah, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
So let's
You'll be
talk
fine.
about.
But did you die? No.
Did you die? Let's talk about some news. Some news. And kind of our preparedness news here. I'm pretty sure that everybody's seen so far the India's ban on rice exports.
Oh, did you see that
Oh.
crazy rice run in Dallas?
Yeah, it was insane. But everybody was out there running. So, you know what? They were. Okay, so last week, India banned exports of non basmati white rice. Okay? Guess what they were buying in Dallas? Basmati white rice. So they were buying the stuff that wasn't banned. It's crazy.
Yeah, they just got they panicked.
They panicked is all it was.
It was just panic buys. And especially, like, you have to consider people that have restaurants and stuff. They're freaking out. Like, oh, my God, that's my main dish. What am I going to do without it? And
Well, I mean, another thing is that, like, Texas produces, like, 94% of the rice that is eaten in the United States, right? Between Texas and Louisiana, that's pretty much it. And we're not going to run out of rice, guys. Don't worry about it. Just whether it's the extra long grain, normal rice you eat in the store, or your basmati, you're not going to run out. Now, what is going to happen is that the specialty rices are going to go away. And you're going to see a lot of places in the world that are going to start, that it's going to greatly impact third world nations. Like some of the ones that are barely hanging on, they might not get their shipment of rice this year.
yeah, that's
bad.
That's bad. That's
So we'll see. You're going to see some starvation going on. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be cool. And there's not much that anybody can really do about it. They had just so many floods over there, and then they had the earthquakes, and it just. We kind of talked about what happened with the rice in India and the rice in the Pakistan and that valley is just completely gone. What else you got for news, lady?
Okay, so something else that's really cool is going to be voted on this week that I'm totally for is Senate votes to limit foreign land ownership. So there is roughly 37.6 million acres of U.S. agriculture land that is foreignly owned in the U.S. So now they're putting a stop to that. So that's going to be really good for obviously us, for the U.S., because we're going to have more control over our farming lands. Definitely do not want a foreign country owning the majority of our food resources. So yeah, really good stuff. So we should hear an update. Just look for an update, in your local news. Google it. There should be an update to that this week.
So if we're going to talk about the plant, the tree of the day, I'm going to call it a tree. Looks more like a bush. It's the dwarf red pomegranate. What I like about them is they're not big, right? These guys, now, they say they'll get about 8 feet tall by 8 feet wide. They're self-pollinating. They produce a smaller fruit than like the big pomegranate that everybody's used to. But the cool thing is you can plant them as like a hedge pretty much anywhere. You can treat them a lot like a hedge too. So you can shape them a little bit and you can get them to, they're small enough and low enough growing that they can grow underneath and in between your fruit trees already. They can grow along your fence lines. You can use them as a fence. Nothing wants to crawl through a pomegranate tree. They're a pomegranate bush. They
Is it
grow
spiky?
They're pretty spiky. Yeah, they grow. They're very sharp. So they're great. These guys are great for zones 2 through 11. Outdoors, though, zone 7 to 11. So a huge portion of the United States can grow these guys. They're super, super happy. Man, they just take average soil, average everything. They're super easy to grow. These are, and for the majority of the United States, they're going to be ready to harvest around in September-ish. And once again, these guys are self-pollinating. They're pretty freaking easy to grow. They're pretty freaking easy all the way around. Let's see. And our plant of the day is, and this goes with a value-added product you can grow. These are going to be called Chinook hops, Vine. Okay, so these are hops, like you put beer hops, right? A lot of places like fresh hops, but they can't grow them themselves. These guys are pretty cool. So the description on these guys is it says, craft brewers delight. Vigorous, easy to harvest hop vines yield moderate crops of compact, medium-sized cones. Prized for the bittering qualities and aromatic characteristics, flavor is described as spicy with strong pine taste and grapefruit notes. Useful in many homebrew recipes, including American pale ales, stouts, porters, and lagers. They maintain their alpha acid content for up to 6 months in proper storage, which means that you take them right off the plant. You put 6 ounces of or so together, and then you vacuum seal them and pop them in the freezer. These are great for homebrew recipes. These are also super disease resistant. So to verticillium wilt, to downy mildew, you're just going to mulch them in the winter. They originally came from Washington State in 1985. These guys ripen in August in the majority of the country. They are great. They grow outside zones 3 to 8. So they work great. The higher the zone you are, the more shade you want to provide until you're growing them in partial shade or like dappled sunlight in like zone 7 and 8. Other than that, growing a good-sized row of hops is probably a decent way to make some extra money. Get kids school clothes. Because if you look at what hops charge, like to get them online, they're pretty pricey for fresh hops. Like it's worth it to me to grow some hops and sell them.
We should definitely look into that.
What else you got, lady?
That is it for me. I'm all out of ideas. And guys, I know that I may have given you whiplash, and I apologize for that, but I literally busted out that list in like 5 minutes, 5 seconds, it felt like. Because we've done it before and we've tried it. And so we're just giving you some pro tips here, and hopefully it helps you get some ideas, get those creative juices going so you guys can make some money and bring in additional revenue streams, or like retire altogether and have your little small hobby farm, So,
well, guys, that's going to do it for us today. We'd like to thank you for listening. We love our listeners. Sorry we didn't get an episode out last week. We got our next couple episodes planned out for you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. I guess it looks like we're going to do animals on the farm and monetizing those, farm equipment and monetizing that, your beekeeping one.
So those are the next 4 episodes to come.
Next, there's a 3.
Yeah.
What's the 4th one?
Well, the beekeeping one.
That's the beekeeping one. Animals?
I can't math right now. I'm so tired.
Yeah, like,
I'm exhausted.
Close enough. 4-ish.
Yeah. Ish.
And we love our listeners. Thank you guys for listening to us every week. We'd like to give a special shout out to our friends in New Zealand. You guys are awesome. And a bunch of guys in Australia.
Who are new listeners?
I haven't looked at the stats today, but we had a bunch of new people in Europe.
Nice.
I think it was the Netherlands. We're starting to pick up pretty good. So, love you guys out there. If you'd like to go ahead and support the show, you can do so from our Etsy. It's going to be thisferallife.etsy.com. If you'd like to send us some email, like love mail, hate mail, ask a question, come on the show, anything fun like that, it's going to be thisferallifepodcast@gmail.com.
If you want to buy a kimchi recipe book, it is now on Amazon.
It is now on Amazon.
Slightly feral kimchi as F.
Yeah. KAF. Kimchi as F. If you want to go ahead and do that, that'd be super awesome. I'd love it if some of our listeners would try it, because I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about it. Let's see. If you'd like to go ahead and directly benefit the show, you can do so through our This Feral Life at Venmo.com, or at Venmo would be at This Feral Life.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got this backwards. Sorry, whoa. Sorry, lots of words today. All right, guys, that's about it, I believe, for us today.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, guys. We love you. Good night.
Love you guys.